So I've got all my theoretical drawings, whatever. I've got boxes over boxes trying to figure stuff out. I know I need my 3 degree, but doing it straight onto wood, it's going to be a little bit different. There was a little bit of machine error when I was doing my one cut, and this isn't parallel to here. So I'm going to have to actually take a little bit of material off of this side, bring her down. So I'm going to go ahead and plan out some lines, draw a new line, and my goal is to maybe take off that much, just a little bit, and then I just won't route my neck pocket so deep. So just as I thought, this is smaller than that by, oh man, it's like 0.5 millimeter. That is going to cause it not to sit perfectly flat. There'll be some gaps. So I'm going to get some sandpaper, hold it like this, check it, and slowly go until it's good. I know I don't need to sand all of this. I can actually get rid of some of this material first. So I think I'm going to trim from about here forward just to get that out of the way. No reason to do more wood to that part. Got a piece of sandpaper taped down, slowly pressed. A little bit of weight on this side. Keep going until it's smooth. Things look even. Measuring, make sure things are square. Making sure it's even from here and here. It only needs to be about that big for this heel, that area that's going to get glued in. This side's better, this side needs more. Okay, glued down instead of tape. Let's see if this works better. So I have 2 lines that are on the same side. If they are the same distance from the bottom to the top of the fretboard, then we are good. 4.1.5 centimeters, 4.2 centimeters. So to take off just a touch there, it looks like. 4.2, 4 point almost. This side, I'm at 3.9 roughly. This side, same dealio. 3.9, so it is super close. So which one's longer? 4.2. That is pretty darn good. That one is 4.2. A little bit of error on my part there. I'm just going to flatten it. I feel like there's a slight hump here. Just want a little bit now altogether. How can you tell if something's perfectly flat? Put a ruler or a straight edge. Does it wobble? You can see light through it. How is it the whole length? Perfect. Perfect. That's pretty good. I think that's acceptable for me. I'm going to redraw the heel shape on here for my body. Darn, this is looking good. Now, just like everything else in this project, I'm kind of going back and forth before completely finishing a part. I kind of want to make sure that before I finish this, is it actually going to fit? So I've got my template kind of laid out here where my neck pocket is going to go. And normally, if this was like a Telecaster style, I would just go down straight. I think it's 5/8, put in my bolt-on neck or glue-on neck, and I'd be good to go. However, this one's getting glued in, and it's on a funny angle. If I go back and look at those plans, if this is all still according to what I did for my 3 degree, from the top of the body, that's what this brick stands for, to where the bottom the heel is going to meet while still leaving enough wood below. The height of that piece is going to be 1.376. So that's how deep I got to go. Now, it says 1.376. Let's keep it simple and call it 1.375. If fractions are tricky, you find a converter. There's 0.375 inches. Let's call it 3/8. Now, it's not just 3/8, it's going to be 1 3/8. I'm going to take this part of the heel and I'm going to measure down my 1 about 3/8, which is going to give me 1 3/8 is about there. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of draw that all the way around just so I have a rough idea, because I like to plan this instead of oops, oops, definitely oops. Now this is just eyeball. This is not perfect. My eyeballs are pretty good. I definitely don't wear anything to help improve my sight. And there's kind of my rough. I'm going about that deep. It's going to cross over here. This side there's going to be a small sliver. I might end up losing this, but it'd be really sweet if this doesn't get destroyed. Now, one of the router trim bits that I have is able to go just about that deep. So hopefully I can just use this one and not have to swap it in and out. At the moment, since I've done so much sanding, my original jig and the neck, not as tight as I anticipated. I could put maybe a couple layers of tape in here, or I've seen a trick that works really well is to wrap a couple layers of tape around the bearing so that when I do this, it purposely makes it a little smaller. The bit will still run, but this almost acts as a slight little bit the width, and just that little bit should be enough to help me get it tight. I'll do a little test and go about that depth, see how it's fitting. I'd rather my pocket be too tight than too loose. So it's gone from a 1/2 inch. Let's see. So now it's 0.52 instead of 0.5. I like my chances with that. I'm not stressed out. You're stressed out. Oh man, this is intense. Okay. We're gonna double side glue this thing down. All right, there's no turning back now. Before my bearing can even make contact with the jig, I gotta go down about this much freehand. So I hope I don't slip and hit the jig. Yeah, let's, I'm gonna start hollowing out some of this material. Hogging out, hollowing, whatever. So you can see I'm getting down, I'm only down not even a centimeter so far, but I gotta get deep enough so that my bearing, that little blue part here in this case, is gonna be able to run along this. Going nice and slow. Quite often people will use something like a Forstner bit first and get it down close to depth so you have less to do with the router. However, I really like using the router, so I don't mind not using this. So I'm just about at the depth now where my bearing is going to be able to run along here. So we're going to go really slow. Eventually, once I get through this maple and down into the mahogany, magically, I'm sure you're going to start to see a hollow thing appear here. That's going to be one of my wire routes that I used and pre-routed way earlier before glue up to go from here back to there and then eventually to my electronics cavity. Oh, this is exciting.
That's too heavy of a cut. Let's go a little bit slower, shall we? Oh, I didn't like that at all.
Okay, that pass was a little bit freaky. Oh man. Well, now that I got finally the bearing fit in here, this inside pocket is just a little bit smaller than my guide here, which tells me the neck might be able to fit in kind of tight, and then I can adjust as needed. Let's do a little test here. Perfect. I can't really pull it any further this way because of this angle. That's exactly what I was hoping for, was about 1/8 of an inch. That'll work perfectly. Okay, I'm gonna keep on going more to depth now. Look, it's even on the 3-degree angle. Yes. So there you can see on that pass, there's the opening for where my neck pickup is gonna go and the wire. That's pretty cool. So that's about as far as I can go using this bit, which is my longest one, because that bearing, once I go any deeper, it's gonna be touching the wood. Now that this is just slightly smaller than this one, I can take the tape off my one that I've actually been using, pull this jig off, and then slowly go down, because I still have a little bit more to go. So you can't see a whole lot other than this little spot. However, the bearing isn't quite low enough to be able to run off here, so I'm gonna have to do a little bit of freehand, get a little bit deeper, and then the bearing will be able to roll across this. Final depth is still there, that little pencil line. Look what I found. There's my little alignment spot. There's a little toothpick in there. You can see we're getting pretty darn close. The mahogany is machining a whole lot nicer than the maple. Just that little bit softer. Now before I go to the full depth, so that the pocket fits nicer, I do want to kind of get a rough idea, where's my bridge going to go here? Hold it up nice and tight on there. Do the same thing on the other side. And then really figure out where is the spot for before 26.5. So if that's about my 0 mark, 26.5 is about there. My bridge is going to go about here. And I want to make sure the strings aren't going to go too high and the bridge has to be installed all there. I want to have the bridge be able to sit almost as low as possible, so the strings aren't too high off the body. That'd be too high up for me. Wouldn't be able to palm meet the way I like. So I'm going to keep on going. Maybe another, let's aim for 4 millimeters. Half a whatever. Getting there. Okay, that might be its final depth. We're pretty darn close to it. can probably go a little bit lower. However, I don't have tons of material left on the back. I kind of was hoping for that to work so I could still see that little sliver there. I think that leaves a bunch of room for adjustment. Cool. Wow, look at all these finished guitars. But you know what's not finished yet? This. I came here to take some measurements of stuff. So I found this Jackson 7-string. It's also a 26.5 scale. And while it has a hipshot style bridge, the measurements are going to be similar. So high E, as it meets here. In this case, it's been intonated, and it's just under 26.5. This one, all the way over, it's 26.5 plus about 1/8 of an inch. So that's going to help me determine my angle when I set up how much adjustment I want on my tunematic style. So it's on an angle, but I wanted to make sure that I've got enough wiggle room, about 1/4 of an inch or so, to make those changes. So yeah, thanks to the guys over here at Long & McQuaid for letting me bring in a giant ruler and my half-finished project to try to take measurements. So as I'm carving, I take it on and off now and then, checking for alignment. How does it look with the heel? I think that looks pretty cool. So I still got some little bulges I got to smooth out just so that it's not as much of a stretch for your fingers. I want it to feel nice and smooth. I take off some material here. I'll just keep going until it feels good. I want it to be comfortable for my thumb up here and for my whole hand to reach around. I still have a bit of a flat spot in the middle, so I'm going to keep on slowly curving to get that nice thin C. Then it's time to work on this headstock. So as I'm sanding, I like to use a giant piece and I can work it back like that. But then as I run my hand over to take it on and off, I try to feel, how does it actually feel in my hand while I'm playing? Oh, like this got a nice curve, but then it flattens out here too much. This doesn't have enough of that C shape, so I need to take care of that. So I'm gonna have to remove a little bit here. This side's not too bad. So I'll go back and file, sand, file, sand. You just got to make sure you stop before you run out of material.